We are back with another reflection on the Daily Vedantic, and today's episode is on iniquity and injustice. Two topics that doesn't take long to look around the world to see that there is immense misfortune, immense injustice, the world around us, and you might not have to look far. This episode might be reaching you where it could be in your neighborhood, where you could look out the window and see grave injustice or iniquity. You might be experiencing it as we speak. Suffering leads to salvation, and it just is a pattern that I've noticed a lot in life, that it also leads to, in the interim, before that salvation, leads to philosophy and reflection. In that vein, we should not take it for granted. I know that was the case for me in my unfolding or growing awareness towards needing a different world model, a different world view. Came from a lot of suffering, and that opening, as the phrase goes, the crack is where the light comes in. And through that suffering, I started to rethink my worldview and came across Vedanta. And we say it in many episodes, but in terms of continuous study, the oldest philosophy known to man. And what does this ancient philosophy say about iniquity and injustice? Well, three things come to mind on this topic whenever I'm asked about this topic or whenever it comes up in group discussion. The first is something that Swami will say all the time in his lectures. Mentions it quite often, and that is a quote from Christ. "Iniquity there shall be in this world, but woe unto you if you are a cause of it." Iniquity there shall be in this world, but woe unto you if you are a cause of it. The second thing that comes to mind, which is quite related, is that this world, as defined by the sages within Vedanta, is the world is opposites. That is the world. That is our experience. You would not have an experience if there wasn't a contrast. If there wasn't a second experience, you would have no time. That's why they call it a second. From here to here, or I should say from now to now, there's a second. But if it was just from now and things didn't change, then there would be no time. Similarly, there would be no world if there weren't contrasts. There would be no experience. You have to have heat to know what cold is. You've got to have rich to have poor. If everybody's just one of those, then there is not the other. If everybody's poor, then no one is. If everybody's rich, then no one is. These opposites must exist. So when Christ says, "Iniquity there shall be in this world," he's saying there will be good fortune and misfortune. That is the world. And he's not saying, this is a bummer that there is iniquity right now, but if we work really hard, we'll get rid of it. Iniquity there shall be in this world. Woe unto you if you are a cause of it. It will be the case that there are fortunate people and unfortunate people. Good fortune, misfortune. But what can you do about it? Which brings me to the third thought within this topic, which is a quote from the sage Ramatirtha, who said, "Fixing the world is like trying to straighten a dog's tail. It can't be done." And what happens when humans try to do what can't be done? Try to jump 30 feet in the air, and you spend 10 years trying to do it. If it can't be done, it will exhaust you to no end. Trying to fix the world will exhaust you to no end because, like the dog's tail that is meant to curl up, to have a bend to it, this world is meant to have these opposites to it. But we're called not to contribute to this iniquity, not to contribute to injustice, knowing that it can't be fixed on a global scale, that there will always be iniquity and there will always be injustice. It allows you to take a breath, liberated from the thought that we need to expel all injustice around the world, because sadly, humans are going to human. Our ego, our fear, our desires, our selfish pursuits will lead to iniquity. It will often lead to injustice. Trying to get rid of injustice or corruption or violence, you basically would need to get rid of all humans. And that's not a very tenable solution to try to improve humanity. At least that's what this philosophy says. The other thing is, you'd have to get rid of the world, because the world is opposites. So what can we do? Well, as we've touched on in other episodes, this philosophy is explicit when it says the most important work we do for others is the work we do on ourselves. The most important work we do for others is the work we do on ourselves. Instead of running threadbare after 30 different issues of injustice and trying to solve them all, or 15 or 12 or 7 or 5 or 1 to solve world hunger. Like the Lincoln quote, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend 5 hours sharpening the axe. The most important work that's being done is sharpening that axe. To make it quick and easy, 1 hour piece of work for chopping down that tree, whatever problem you are trying to tackle. Maybe it's curing cancer. And it might seem improbable, but there are enough signs, because you understand that game enough. There are enough signs that point to this might be possible. It's not jumping 30 feet. Maybe it's jumping 5, 7. I guess I should say jumping 7 feet in the air, maybe 5 feet in the air. Maybe this analogy doesn't even work, because maybe you actually, with the right technology that you invent, you can easily jump more than 30. But let's say you go from realizing that something is improbable but possible to realizing, oh wow, I can actually potentially make a dent in this problem. It's not fixing the world, but there is something you can actually straighten out. So what does that sharpening the axe look like in our lives? It's the work we do on ourselves. Philosophy is not an irrelevant academic pursuit. It is clarity. It is cultivating clarity in the world that we operate in. It is the ability to see clearly. And if you can see clearly, you've got capable hands, a capable mind, a developed and capable intellect, then you can chop down nearly any tree. This can seem defeatist when it says that iniquity is going to exist and there's nothing we can do about its existence. But it's actually quite liberating when you really know the rules of the game instead of working against them. just like learning to do anything. Once you learn to work with it, that iniquity will exist, injustice will exist, and that the focus of our work should be on ourselves, so that when the world calls us needing our help, we're actually capable to do so. That focus inward instead of a relentless focus outward, where you are just running around, not even understanding the games, but running up to people playing chess and switching out pieces, putting cheese crackers down, moving pieces 10 rows over, breaking all the rules and saying, no, I'm going to help you. I know how to do this. And then you run over to someone playing Monopoly, treat it like they're playing Uno, run over to someone else that's playing some other game, solitaire, and you start making bets as if it's blackjack. If you don't understand the game, no matter the passion, energy, enthusiasm you bring to trying to change the game, you will only make a mess. And the work we do on ourselves is the work to understand the game, to understand and see clearly the game, the world, ourselves as players within this game, and where we can contribute. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.